Hey guys, so just a little intro as to what I'm doing today. Tomorrow I have a gig out at Auburn for a historic crafters days type thing out in Floyd County. Reiner actually is, I think it's Floyd County, but it's in a little village called Reiner, Virginia, and I will be making up a bunch of hooks, S hooks, small wares, that kind of thing today to prep up for it. Take a break from the sign because if I don't, I'm gonna get burned out on it real fast. I've got this weekend and till I'm gonna set myself Wednesday to get all the forging done on that, and then Thursday to actually get it all machine welded together, um, and then Friday, Saturday, both those days I'll have to actually install. So thankfully it's only about, a mile and a half, 2 miles from the shop, the house here. So the install's not going to be too bad, but I'll take you all along on that journey too as we go through the install process on that. Yeah, so yeehaw, let's get it done. Sorry guys, I just saw that the mama duck, you can see her going back over behind the wood pile there, but the mama duck was off her nest. She actually has like 10 eggs under her. So between that one and the one up under our pallet forest up here, that's quite a few ducks. That's up over 20. So we're gonna be inundated here shortly. So that was kind of cool to get a kind of rough count on it. Even though it may have cost me my piece here, we'll find out. No, not too bad. Just a little bit of scorching. First thing you got to do is draw a taper on the tip. I have a tendency to like nice long tapers. They're a little easier to clean up and blend in. You know? But you taper it, so you got to take it square first, then you can draw it out to that nice fine taper. Then you should round it up if you're going with round stock for the parent stock. Definitely round it up. And then start that reverse reverse scroll on the end of it. It's all rounded up, and there's still just enough heat on it to go ahead and scroll. And on this one, it doesn't really matter what direction I'm doing this in, because I'm going to put a twist in the center of it. But if you're not going to twist them, definitely pay attention to the scroll, which way it goes from the opposite scroll. See, I've already got that scroll in there on that side down here. Where is it? Right here. Daggone, you can't hardly see nothing. Alright, so there you go. So you can see that scroll all done on that end. Now we're doing the opposite end. If I was not going to put a twist in here, then I'd have to be careful about the direction that reverse scroll goes, because you do a reverse scroll and then you scroll it back the opposite direction. Plus, it's called a reverse scroll. Pull that tip so you can hit upon it, and then just work on your scroll. Get it scrolled back over. Get started around the horn. Come back to the flat of the anvil is what I like to do. Some guys scroll it all the way around on the horn. Some use tongs to scroll, kind of like the freehand style. Because this one is this style, I'm going to slightly do some flattening on this. Keep it from being perfectly round. Just basically knock two sides into it so that the sides are flattish. Okay, and then make sure it's kind of even all the way through there. Planish it. You know, it's too cold to be forging, but I'm just barely knocking it back into straight alignment. Now from this, what I'll do is I'll heat this center section up and grab another pair of tongs, and I'll twist, put one twist in it. Because I don't have my vise up here, I'm going to do this with tongs. If I had a vise up here, I'd clamp it in the vise and then just do the twist. Either with tongs or with a pipe wrench or a twisting bar. Whatever equipment you have, use that. One, and back to half. There we go. Derp-a-derp-a-derp. Good way to burn up your tent. So there you have it, one down. Maybe you can't see that, I don't know. I'll suggest you up there so you can. And there it is. Yep, yeehaw. So it hangs pretty well. It'll be awesome for a cook set, camp set, whatever, what have you. It'll work. And down to the anvil. So the S hook, that's one type of hook. Mr. Cojo, you were asking to see some hooks, so this video is yours. I'm going to heat this up and cut it in half so it's a little more manageable. Move you elsewhere, huh? The real key in all of these hooks is making sure your tapers are small enough and curved enough that they're not going to actually rip fabric if somebody uses them for a coat rack or something like that. And just, you know, just have fun with them. You can do whatever type of hook you want. You can do a J hook with drilled or punched holes in it. I don't like those. It's extra work because punching the holes takes a while, so does drilling them. I'm not a real big fan of cold work, but you know, I do it. It just depends on what the client wants. I'll have some of those. I'll have maybe a couple of fancy leaf hooks that I do, and I'll show you that one too. Those are, well, they're not hard, but they're a little more difficult than just a plain old J hook. Mostly because they can get kind of finicky in the vine that you use to make the hanger part out of it. Especially if you're at a demo, you don't want to hot cut all the way through your stalk. You want to crease it so that you can bend it back and forth and break it just like that. Because if you hit all the way down through there, it creates a rocket or a bullet of sorts. And that's no bueno, man. So we did an S hook. I'll go ahead and show you that leaf hook. Go from simple stuff to really complex stuff. Well, not complex, but more advanced, we'll say. This stock I'm working with, it's 1/4 inch round. So, to do leaf, square up a bit. Draw a real small sharp taper on the front of it. You're going to square, like I say, 2 inches of it maybe. maybe 3. Pass the back end of your taper there. So, let's see, can you see that? My lighting sucks out here. I'm outside of the shop, just because this is where I was set up, working on a big project. But so you can see, there's your taper. Comes to right about here. From there back, it's squared maybe 2.5 inches. I'm gonna straighten this just to make it nice and clean, planish. Now on the next heat, we're going to actually start working in our vine, define the bud of that leaf. So we're going to come back just a little past the end of that taper. We're going to set it down, half on, half off blows, which for those of you who are real new to this, half on, half off means half of the hammer face is on the edge of the anvil, the other half is off of it. So from that set down, that necking, what we're going to do is we're going to square up, and we'll square up a whole 4 inches. Take it at the width of your anvil. So, just like so, you've got the bud set down there, that funky angle there, and then you've got the rest of the squared up stalk. So now we're going to work that squared section that's going to become our vine. As you taper this down and resize it, you're changing the size of it, so keep in mind that it is going to lengthen on you as you get smaller in diameter. And all the while you're protecting that bud. Don't deform your bud. So from the tip of the stem, or tip of the bud, you've got approximately 3/4 of an inch for the leaf. Then from there, you've got about 3.5, almost 4 inches of a very, 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 very gradual taper from about an 1/8 inch back to the 1/4 inch parent stock size. On the next heat, we're going to round that taper back up, and that will be the vine, and then we'll open the leaf. And yes, it is easier to start with square stock, but I happen to have round on hand, so round's what we're doing. Either way, when you make your vine, you really do want to round it up. So Whether you start with round and take it square, taper it out, and then round it back up, or whether you have square stock and skip the squaring up step, you know, it's kind of up to you, but, you know, whatever you have on hand, make do. Make it work, man. So going square to round, you go knock the four corners off, you knock them back into itself, and then you knock all the corners off of that. So you go from 4 sides to 8 sides to 16 sides. And on bigger stock, you can even go further than that. But this small stuff, 16 to round, makes a lot of sense. It's pretty. Now this isn't perfect. If you want perfect, make it perfect. This is close enough for what I'm doing and for my price point on these things. So keep that in mind too. So it's nice and rounded up back into the parent stock, and then now it's time to make that leaf. Slightly flatten it and start pulling out the sides of that bud. Try not to miss it like I did there. But you also, right down the center of this, you've got a ridge. You want to keep that center line nice and clean. Now I'm going to turn it over and start drawing with the peen. By doing that, you're able to control the stretch a little bit. You're also able to put a little bit more texture in there to it. Spider. To that degree, I have a tendency to kind of round off or to dish the tip over. Kind of come in, curl up the edges just a little bit. Kind of give it a little bit of curve and appeal that way. So they actually have tongs you can make or buy. They're called scrolling tongs. They work really well for this. I don't have a pair made up right now, but I do have a pair of channel locks. They work just as well. And they're adjustable. So all we're doing now is we're going to take and bend that like that, and then come back with a reverse bend. We're going to just kind of put a little bit of a eye hook feel in there. I got that first bend just a little bit too much, so we're gonna pull it back into alignment there. I'm gonna take another heat. I'm gonna close that eye just a touch there. Close it up, close it up, close it up. And then we're gonna adjust it back over just a bit. It's kind of tricky to do it like that because you've got that leaf in the way. This is a part that works really well if you do have a vise. You can just kind of clamp the end of it in the vise. Like I said earlier, I don't really have it up here with me, so we're gonna have to do things the hard way. And take another heat, and then we'll adjust that leaf back over. Now we might be able to stretch it just enough to pull it back around that side, because that's kind of what I want to do. I'm just gonna have to hammer on it very, very, very gently. Close the gap up a little bit more. And coerce that vine on down and around. And now maybe, if we didn't get it too cold, or let it get too cold, we can bring that leaf on around. Very much like that. So I hope you can see that, because I can't really see it. There it is in the camera there. Okay, so that leaf comes right down onto the parent stalk. You got the loop there, the vine goes all the way around. Now time for the J. So in this case, we're going to heat up down about here, cut it loose, and then I'm going to use a pair of tongs. We're going to draw a taper, scroll over the end for a finial, reverse scroll, and then we'll go ahead and J that up, just like with the S hooks. It's the same technique. Remember what I said about hot cutting. I want to break most of the way through, not all the way, and then just bend it back and forth till it comes loose. Then you can cool your parent stock or set it aside, or both. Then we're going to set this down here, and we're actually going to grab hold of the loop so that we can work this end here back into a taper. You got to take a heat because it is cold. So we squared it up, tapering it. Like I said, I like really nice long tapers that just kind of gradually reduce the size of your stalk. So I'll take another heat on that. Again, that's good enough for me, so go ahead and round it up. Be gentle. You don't want to mash that tip. You want to just round it. It's 8 sides. Kind of planishing blows. They're not full blows. They're just rapid, quick, you know, kind of little taps just to straighten it out and dress it up. Yep. Okay. Now back in the heat, we'll do a little reverse scroll on the tip and then coil it up. Okay, leaf up, scroll down, roll it over, close that scroll tip. Pull just the tip, then with the leaf down, hit down onto the tip there. I need more heat for this. Okay, so we heated it up, cooled the tip, ready to rock and roll here. Get that alignment just right. Make sure it's open enough for you. If it's not, take it to the horn of the anvil and open it up some more. Or if you happen to have a Bic iron, use that. Okay, so there's your finished hook. The only other step that I would do is I'm going to grab the butcher brush and just clean all that stuff off. So we're going to take it back up to heat and then butcher brush this. Real quickly, flip it around. This temperature is also when you would want to, you know, go ahead and do any brass brushing to give it a golden type of color. This level of heat right here, it's called black heat. But by brushing it now, it knocks a lot of the scale off, the forge scale, or mill scale, however you want to call it. But and it makes it nice and easy to clean, ready for paint and whatnot else. Grabbed hold of the corner of that stupid leaf, and it's gonna curl up on me. But there you get the idea. You know, it's nice and shiny compared to what it was coming out of the fire before. We're going to hit it with some water, let it cool down. If you want a blackened finish, you can actually quench it in oil and let that at that temperature and let it burn it back off. These are going to get a clear coat of paint, so I'm not real worried about it. So that's your finished leaf hook. The J hook I do is just the same thing. I do more of these than I do J hooks. It's the same hook base, and then you just instead of drawing out the leaf and the vine and all that, you just kind of set down a flat spot on the back side of it, quick, easy. You can punch it, you can drill that right there on that flat spot, and there's your hook. There's another type that I'll show you real quick. It's called a drive hook, and I'll make that for you, and then that'll be this video. Drive hooks are more meant for outdoor use rather than interior. I guess if you had a log cabin, you could use them for that, but or a mantle over a fireplace, they'd work real well. But they're kind of semi-permanent once you do drive them in. So the way this works, you're gonna draw a taper, and on this taper, you're gonna make sure make it nice and sharp, fairly thin. Rather than keeping it square, we're actually going to make it flat on the end so that it pierces in fairly easily. You don't want it exactly flat because it does need a little bit of robustness to it to keep from bending over, but you know, something along the lines of a flat cut nail is what you're looking for. So draw a nice long taper on it. Take the good high heat just past the end of that taper. So we're at a high yellow there. You're going to bring it all the way back over on itself. Give it a good tap. Tap, okay. Form the edges up. Now come back about a ½ inch from the end. Maybe a 1/4 to a ½ inch. That's all the more you need. You're gonna clean it up, tighten it back in, bring it back on itself like that, and then make sure your nail part's good and straight. And then we're gonna set it with a couple of good whacks. And that's going to upset that nail head. Mileage may vary. These I make mostly for exterior use, so I give them a good long nail. And then from that, you make your J-hook. So I'll show you that real quick too. Again, don't cut all the way through. Grab a second pair of tongs, break it off, pull the other part, because we still have a bit of heat here. I can actually dress that up just a touch. Use that residual heat to square it. Grab another heat. Draw out your material to the length. really want this to twist much, so I'm going to leave it squared up, not rounded. We're going to go ahead and pull that finial on here. Nice blunt one. Yeah, I got it a little colder than I normally like to work it, so we're going to heat it up again. Just a touch, just to bring that on down and around in there. Close that circle. Okay, so there's that. You can see that still a little open there. We're going to take it a nice even heat right through here and bring this on up and around to make the J. So cool off that finial tip. Put it over the edge of the anvil. Hammer down. Flip it back over, bring it back towards you. Guess I did have enough length there, but just, you know, whatever floats your boat. If you want to make them fancy, make them fancy. If not, don't worry about it. They still sell. Okay, so there is your finished J hook, or drive hook, I mean. That's the drive hook.